Hello, in this video I want to show you how to use kinematic object activation. There's a group of properties here. So here's my basic simulation. I have this one kinematic object that has keyframe animation, and I have these three dead objects which I'm going to demolish when I will hit them using this kinematic object. And this simulation is just a basic behavior. It will not use any activation, just I will use it just as a reference to show you. So this is how it works. Okay, nothing fancy. You can see that this kinematic object hit this object, then it hits this object, and then it demolishes this wall. Okay, nothing special. But now we can compare it with this next scene. So in this one, I will activate my kinematic object by collision. So I need to turn on this enable kinematic to dynamic activation here and turn on this by collision. The rest of the properties set to 0, which means they are off. So now when I will start simulation, my kinematic object will be, as you can see, it was activated, which means turn to dynamic object at the first collision. This way you can quickly create some kind of can hit something by some other object. You don't need to throw it. You just can create straightforward keyframe animation, and at the first hit it will just convert into the dynamic object that will push your object, break it, and let's say here you can see how it pushed it, and then start rotating because its density was not so high. Let me set here, let's say 50, and I will start again. So here you can see how I'll just smash it. So if I will set it, let's say 25, and create simulation again, I can actually turn on this loop mode and start playing with density, maybe even lower. Okay, maybe I can actually set here restart whenever I will change my property. So I can set it lower. Okay, maybe even more. Okay, maybe higher. Okay, so this is the thing. Where with this density, it just not strong enough to activate these dead objects here. Maybe I need to decrease velocity here. Okay, and maybe I can decrease density as well now. So you got the idea. You can play with all these properties and see which one works for you best. Okay, so it's enough with this activation by collision, this one. And next reference, I will show you how to activate your kinematic object by the frame. Well, pretty straightforward property. You just need to define frame when it should be converted to the dynamic object. In this case, I wanted to smash this object, but still continue its keyframe animation. And only when it approaches this second box, only at this moment it turns into dynamic again. So let me show you. Okay, and only after that it converts to the dynamic object. First one, do not affect the kinematic object anyhow, and only at frame 46 it converts to 46, or yes, it converts to dynamic object, and then it got affected by this hit. Okay, so pretty straightforward property. Just set the frame at the frame you want it to be converted from kinematic to dynamic, and it will do the job. And in the next example, I'll show you how to activate this by force. And by force, it means that basically it works like collision, but by collision activates at the very first collision. Doesn't matter how strong it is, but using this by force, you can actually define the collision strength which it gets when collided with something. So let me start with zero value, which means this value will be off. I will start it in loop mode, so you'll see the difference. Okay, so what it does, it just smash everything on its way. Now I will set it to 1000. Here you can see that uh, this force was not enough to smash this object and still stay as kinematic, so it got activated. So now I can increase this value, say set 2000, and this time it smashed this one and this object, but again when it collides this big heavy object, the collision strength is not enough to stay kinematic. So let me set, let's say 20,000, and I guess that will be enough to smash this one as well. And nope. Okay, so you got the idea. Also, I want to show you that when you activate your kinematic object and convert it to dynamic object, you also can demolish it using this demolition property. So I can turn on to fragments and to clusters here, and when it will be let me increase time. Create simulation. So when it activates and converts to dynamic object, if collision strength is big enough, it's enough to demolish kinematic object as well. So this way you can create something more complex than just throwing something or dropping it. You can use actual keyframe animation to break other object, and then at the moment when you need, convert your kinematic object into dynamic and uh, demolish it as well. And the last example, I'll show you how to activate your kinematic object using this by distance property. It's also pretty straightforward. When you see that your object, kinematic object, is on this value away from its original value, position, it converted to dynamic object. So this is original position, and if your object will be moved for this distance, it will be converted to dynamic object. So I can decrease this value and it will be activated somewhere here. Okay, you see now the difference. Also pretty straightforward property, so very easy to use. Okay, that's it with kinematic object, and thank you for watching.